Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. Games Workshop announced the new Aeldari Combat Patrol, and today I would like to share my first impressions with all of you. And of course, before I continue, I would like to remind you that this video is based on my personal preference, so of course I invite you to let me know in the comments what you think about this new Combat Patrol. Okay, so let's start talking about the contents of this new Combat Patrol, and after that we can talk more about it. If we buy this Combat Patrol, we're going to get one unit of Wraith Blades that we can also assemble as Wraith Guards. I'm happy about that. I like when we have this kind of units in the Combat Patrol because that gives us more options. Then we have two units of Dire Avengers. They are very noticeable in the Combat Patrol, and for sure we're going to talk more about them later. Let's leave them there for now. We also get one unit of Warp Spiders, and that's my favorite part of the Combat Patrol because these ones are brand new miniatures. The Warp Spiders are part of the latest Aeldari refresh during this edition, so yes, they are super brand new miniatures, and I made a video talking about all the new Aeldari refresh. Just in case if you're interested, I'm going to leave the link in the description. And finally we have a character, of course, like every Combat Patrol, we have a Spirit Seer, and this is a very specific character. This one has good synergy with the Wraith Blades, Wraith Guardians, Wraith Lords, so it's a very specific character with a very specific type of unit. But even if it's a very specific character for very specific units, I think that that's okay because we have that specific unit inside of the box. Okay, so those are the contents of the new Aeldari Combat Patrol, and I have to say that until now I'm okay with what I'm seeing here because we have one character plus 4 units. During the current edition of Warhammer 40k, the average is to have one character plus 3 units, so having that extra unit I think that adds more to the value of this box, so I'm happy to see more units. Aside from that, at the moment of making this video, inside of this Combat Patrol we have around 500 points of miniatures, which I think that is a really good start and a really good foundation for an Aeldari army. Okay, with all of that being said, now I would like to say the most important part about every Combat Patrol. The best thing about every single Combat Patrol box is the discount, because of course it is much cheaper to buy the Combat Patrol rather than buy each unit individually. So how good is this Combat Patrol? It's very simple. If you like every single unit inside of this Combat Patrol and you want to have every single miniature inside of this Combat Patrol, go for it. This is a perfect Combat Patrol for you, no matter what I say. If you want everything inside of this box, it's a good discount, there's a good range of miniatures, go for it. If you look at this Combat Patrol and you think, okay, here there are some miniatures that I really like and I want to have, and there's other miniatures that I'm not super happy about them, but I don't hate them, I could have them as part of my collection and they are at a discounted price, so this is a perfect chance for me to get them, then this is also going to be a good Combat Patrol for you. And of course, this is what I always say about the Combat Patrols. If we maybe just want 1 or 2 units inside of this Combat Patrol and we really don't want the rest of it, are we really saving money if we buy things that we don't want because of the discount? Until here, I have to say that for me, this is not a bad Combat Patrol. Of course, it could be better, but I also think that it could be much worse. So it's in a very weird middle point, but especially the issue here is the miniatures that are inside of this box. For me, and probably for a lot of people, the main issue of this Combat Patrol is that we have 2 units of Dire Avengers, and they are super old. Actually, there's a lot of miniatures in the Aeldari range that they are old sculpts, like for example the Falcon or even the Wraith Blades that appear in the Combat Patrol. They are also not the newest. I think that they are around like 10 years old, so they are not the newest, but they don't feel outdated. They can be old, but they still feel very good, so there's no need to upgrade those kits because they look awesome. However, from my point of view, the Dire Avengers, they are old and they feel kinda outdated to me. So I'm not super happy about having these specific miniatures as part of a Combat Patrol. Knowing that the Dire Avengers are old miniatures and they are going to get a refresh sooner than later, because sooner than later we're going to see new Dire Avengers that are going to look much better than these ones. So, as I said, knowing that they are super old miniatures, the only way for me to consider getting them, it will be if they are at a discounted price, and for example, as part of this Combat Patrol. So, I can get that point. From one side, I can get that point that I could get them as part of the Combat Patrol. But, from the other side, if I want to start a new army, I wouldn't think about starting to get the oldest miniatures in the range. Because of that, I know that they're going to be upgraded at some point. And that's my biggest issue, you know, because If someone comes to me and say, I would like to start an Aeldari army, will you recommend me the Combat Patrol? I wouldn't be able to do it without warning that person that the Dire Avengers are like super old and for sure at some point they are going to be upgraded with better looking miniatures. Because if instead of 2 units of Dire Avengers in the Combat Patrol there was 1 unit of Dire Avengers and then another one of something else, I don't mind, whatever, I don't mind what else. Let's say instead of 2 units of Dire Avengers we have 1 unit of Dire Avengers and then 1 unit of Guardians, let's say, the most basic battle line unit. Then they will be like, okay, this is a perfect Combat Patrol, super nice variety of units, there's a little bit of everything. Maybe the Dire Avengers are old sculpts, but they still don't feel that bad, and the rest of the Combat Patrol is like a really nice basic start for the army. I will be like, that will be much better. It's like, for example, Grey Knights. I love Grey Knights, I like them. At some point in my life I'm going to start a Grey Knights army. But when I look at those miniatures, I'm like, okay, these are old looking miniatures, they are going to get an upgrade at some point, and the only miniature that I will consider getting is Castle and Croft because it's the newest one, and thanks to that it's the newest one, I know that it's not going to get an upgrade soon, and I'm going to enjoy that miniature for much longer in the game. And I can put even a better example because the new Aeldari Combat Patrol reminds me a little bit to the Tyranids Combat Patrol of 9th edition. Because in that Combat Patrol there were 30 Thermagants, there were old sculpts, there were 30 of them, there was a discounted price, so it was okay. But what happened after that? 10th edition arrived and now we have new Thermagants that appear in the new Combat Patrol, because in the new Combat Patrol for the Tyranids, the one that exists at the time of making this video, there's 20 of the new Thermagants. But it is what I said at the beginning, if someone likes every single miniature inside of this Combat Patrol, go for it because it's going to be perfect. But I have this issue that when I look at this Combat Patrol, it's like, this could have been much better if instead of 2 units of Dire Avengers we have 1 unit and then something else, because as I said, it's like a very old kit. Because to be honest, like really being honest, I cannot complain about anything in this Combat Patrol except for the Dire Avengers, because everything is different from the previous Combat Patrol, so we have some nice variety there. If someone got the previous one and they get this new one, we are going to have like a nice bigger army and everything is going to be different. That's fun. I like the Spirit Seer, it's a cool looking character. I'm not happy that it comes in a 25mm base, I think that it's a little bit weird, but it is what it is. I think that the miniature still looks very good, and I mean, even if it's a very specific character, as I mentioned, we have one of the units, or well, 2, because we can assemble the Wraith Blades as Wraith Guards. So we have those units as part of the Combat Patrol, so we have some nice synergy there. I like the Wraith Blades and Wraith Guards because, as I mentioned, I like when we have these kind of options as part of a Combat Patrol. We can assemble this unit in 2 different ways. Well, we can assemble these miniatures in 2 different ways, so they are 2 different units. That's also good. And then the Warp Spiders, they are new. I like them a lot. They are brand new miniatures. They look super cool. They are really fun. They are like full of detail. I cannot complain about them. I think that it's a really huge upgrade regarding the previous ones. So, as I said, I really like half of this Combat Patrol. I like the character plus those 2 units. I think that that's a really good start for an Aeldari army because it's like not bad. But then we have 2 units of Dire Avengers that, as I said, they are like very old, they are outdated, and I think that they don't feel as good as the rest of the army right now. I mean, they don't look that bad, to be honest. They just feel old and kinda outdated, but it's not that bad. If someone likes them, of course they can go for them, but as I said, from my personal preference and point of view, when I look at them, it's like I would prefer to start this army with something different. But again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is my personal preference and my point of view and my first impressions about this new Combat Patrol for the Aeldari. So of course, again, I invite you to let me know in the comments what you think about this new Combat Patrol. I consider this Combat Patrol to be not bad. Could be better, could be worse. The good thing for me is that I don't have to think about the contents too much because I'm not going to start an Aeldari army. I already have too many started projects, so I don't want to increase the number of armies yet. And of course it's up to all of us to decide if we like the contents of this box or not. And with all of that being said, this is the end of the video. These were my first impressions about the new Aeldari Combat Patrol, and of course, as always, if you are still here, please consider giving me a like and subscribing. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time!